Okay, so welcome back, everybody. And yeah, and yeah, we're back to trying to be back in regular whatever in regular life again. We're trying, and so we are going back to Kufyat Test 119, and we've done the first 7 letters, so we're actually up to the letter Ches, the 8th letter, which is Pasuk Nun Zayin, or 57. So, as you might remember, this chapter has all the letters of the alphabet, 8 pasukim for each letter of the alphabet. So we're now going into the 8 letters to do with that begin with the letter Ches. And we're told that Ches, the letter Ches, represents Chen, which means grace. And as you'll see as we go through the pasukim, David HaMelech is asking for Chen, and he is like grace from Hashem, and he's telling us, or he's telling himself, or he's telling Hashem that he wants to have a lot of graciousness from Hashem, and he knows that the way to get it is by being a loyal follower, a loyal servant of Hashem. So let's look straight in at the psukim, and the very first one begins, Chilisi panecha. Skipped. Chelki Hashem. Chelki Hashem, my portion is Hashem. Amarti, I said, Lishmor dvarecha, to keep your words. So he's making this big statement, it seems, out to the world. Chelki Hashem, my portion is Hashem. And immediately the commentaries ask, what is he saying? Is he saying something new? He actually, in the 16th chapter, he says something similar. He also says, my portion is, or he says it the other way around, Hashem is my portion. So what is he saying? What does he mean when he says it? And why is he saying it again? And so most of the commentaries explain that when he says, Chelki Hashem, my portion is Hashem, it's an expression of faith, and he's saying, I believe in Hashem absolutely and completely. So what is he adding? Because if he said that already however many chapters ago, over here he adds the word Amarti. So Chelki Hashem Amarti, I said my portion is Hashem. And so the Metzudas explains to us that previously when he said my portion is Hashem, he was talking to himself. Hashem is my portion. And now he's Amarti, he's broadcasting that to the world. He wants everybody to know that Hashem is his portion, and he's hoping that people will be influenced, and they'll also make Hashem their portion. So what does it mean, Hashem is my portion? So at the simplest level, the commentaries tell us that he has chosen Hashem over anything else. So some people, money is their portion. That's what they want in life, like their priorities. And for some people, it's possessions and things, and maybe even friends, or whatever it is that people choose as their first priority. And he says, my portion, what I want most in my life is Hashem. And so we're not 100% sure what that means. Okay, what does it mean that Hashem is my portion? So the Medrash Tehilim speaks about this and says something which starts off feeling like it's not so connected, and then at the end he connects it. Suddenly the Medrash Tehilim says that Moshe told the Jewish people, you are a holy nation, and because you are a holy nation, it's in you that Hashem has chosen. So you that Hashem has chosen. It's a pasuk that the Medrash Tehilim is quoting, but what he points out is that when Moshe said to the Jewish people, it's you Hashem has chosen, he does it in singular. In other words, he's not saying it's you as a nation that I've chosen, but he's saying it's you as Rivki Chaikin. Okay, it's you as a singular as a person that Hashem has chosen. So he's looked at each one of us and he's chosen us. And then the Medrash Tehilim continues and says, Hashem chose us and we chose him. And these words, Chelki Hashem Amarti, I said Hashem is my portion, that describes this relationship. Hashem chose us and we chose him. So what does it mean we chose him? How do we show that we chose Hashem? What is that? And that's the end of his pasuk where he says, Lishmar dvarecha, I keep your word. The way to show Hashem and the way to commit to this relationship of he chose us and we chose him is by doing what he says, doing what Hashem wants from us. So it's not good enough just to tell Hashem, I chose you, I want you. You actually have to act on it. Okay, so like in any relationship, say for example, a couple, the husband says, I want tea, and the wife says, I love you, but I'm not making you tea. Okay, what is that? Okay, the things we do, even if we don't feel like standing up, we make tea because we want to show the other person that we love them. And this is what David HaMelech is saying over here. If we want to say, I chose you, Hashem, then we have to do what Hashem tells us, wants us, so that we have this relationship, so that we are proving, so to speak, that we've chosen Hashem in this relationship. According to Kabbalah, this concept of Chelki Hashem, Hashem is my portion, says Kabbalah, this is talking about the fact that we each have a chelek eloka mima'al mamish, a piece of godliness from above. I actually I thank Hashem every day. I sent my children to Torah Academy, and I went to a grade 1 Siddur party. And at the grade 1 Siddur party, the children sang the song Elokai Neshama. Okay, that's part of their morning davening. And they said, thank you, Hashem, for making us a chelek Eloka mimal mamash. And I thought, like, everybody knows that, right? Everyone knows that we're a piece of godliness. And I went straight from there to give a shir to a group of ladies, and I made comment about something else in the shir that said Chelek Elokami Mal Mamash. And the people were quite fascinated by it, which made me do some research and made me also become more and more and more fascinated on a concept that we take so for granted. We are a little piece of Hashem. Chelek Eloka mimal mamish. We're a little piece of God. But the expression is interesting because we say we're a piece of God, which would give us a picture then, if we were painting it, of wandering around on some kind of high, being holy, being spiritual, and then we could say, I'm godly, right? I'm a piece of God. But this expression doesn't just stop there by saying Chelek Eloka mimal, not just I'm a piece of God, but mamish. Literally, I'm a piece of God. Literally means that it's something physical in this world. So this spiritual feeling that I'm trying to express, Chelki Hashem, my portion is God. How do I have to translate it? How do I have to make it work? By doing what Hashem says. In other words, turning that spiritual, godly feeling into something mamish, into something real and practical. And that's by following what Hashem says. Whenever I do a mitzvah or do something that connects me with God physically, that tells the whole world that I'm a chelek elokami mal mamish, that I actually am a little piece of God. So continues David HaMelech, and he says in the next pasuk, Chilisi panecha, I've begged from you, b'chol leiv, with my whole heart, chaneni ke'imrasecha, be gracious to me, just like you promised. So this is his begging from his heart. This word chilisi is quite an unusual word in the Torah. And he says, I've done this, I've begged, I've entreated, I've pleaded, whatever translation your Tehilim gives you, to say, b'chol leiv, with my whole heart. And what have I begged and pleaded for with my whole heart? Chaneni ke'imrasecha, be gracious to me, like you said you would. So, what does it mean to be gracious? So, normally when we ask Hashem to be gracious with us, we're asking Him to provide us with our needs, to be nice to us, give me what I need in this world. But um, this addition of the words ke'imrasecha, like you said you would, what is the biggest graciousness that God can do for us, like He said He would? And that is to bring Mashiach. And so he's asking, he's begging, he's pleading with his whole heart, Hashem, bring Mashiach already. Pasuk Nun Tes, he says, Chishafti drachai, I thought about my ways, va'ashiva raglai el edesecha, and I turned my feet to do your deeds. Rashi quotes Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, and he says that a person, each of us, quoting Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, he says that each of us is supposed to spend some time every day figuring out, calculating, what is better for me? Is the cost of this mitzvah bigger than the reward for the mitzvah? So I remember that I was involved with a lady who told me that she's prepared to keep 100% kosher, but not kosher chickens. They're outrageously priced and they're dirty, and so she keeps a fully kosher house, but she uses Woolworth chickens. Okay, why? Because of the cost of the chickens. We have to calculate. We have to say, is the cost of the mitzvah, is it bigger than the reward, than the end, or is the profit of the sin better? Do I get more joy from doing bad things than I would get from doing good things? And Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi says we have to make practical calculations all the time so that we come to see, again in a very practical way, that it's worth it for us to keep mitzvahs, that the reward is so much bigger, is so much greater than the cost or the loss. David HaMelech is saying over here, I do this every day. Every single day, chashafti, I think, drachai, about my ways, and I turn my feet and come running straight back to do what you, Hashem, have told me to do. The Yalkut Shimoni goes one step further. He says David HaMelech was never planning to do bad. Okay, he was not planning to use Woolworths chickens. David HaMelech, when he planned his days, he had plans of doing really great things, and then maybe he made some plans of just doing ordinary things. Okay, and again, I shouldn't speak like this about David HaMelech, but maybe he just wanted to read a novel. Okay, something innocent, good, keep himself, busy. I need a break, whatever it was. He says, when I planned my days, chashafti drachai, and I thought about what I was going to do today, va'ashiva raglai el eidesecha, my feet turned to go and do Torah mitzvahs. And this is the Yalkut Shimoni says that this is the greatness of David HaMelech, that even when he was planning to do good things or parav things, like nothing, not bad things, his body, his physical body, wanted him to be involved with Hashem and with Torah and mitzvahs, and literally his feet turned to take him to places where he would be able to do good things, to do mitzvahs. And he says, my mighty, I hurried and I didn't delay the Shmor Mitzvah to keep your commandments. So he's speaking here about the art of procrastination, and he says, I never got involved in it. When I needed to do something, I did it. I never missed a mitzvah because I was procrastinating. I never missed a mitzvah because I was just too lazy to stand up and do it. I hurried and I didn't delay. And the commentaries go even one step further and say, there's sometimes, I always call it the holy Yetzer Hara, where our Yetzer Hara tricks us into thinking it's better for us not to do this now. So let me rather not daven now, because I'll probably daven much better later when I get a jersey and I'm not feeling cold. Or I'm planning to buy this book, but I heard that it's coming out in a nicer print in 3 years' time, so maybe I'll rather buy it in 3 years. So that's our holy Yetzer Hara. It tells us all the time, don't do that good thing, and it finds a good and holy reason why we shouldn't do it. David HaMelech says, I never did that. I never missed a mitzvah. not because I was playing Candy Crush, and not because I was lazy, and not because I had a this big plan of doing everything so much better. I always did that which Hashem wanted me to do. He continues and he says, Chevle Roshoim Ivduni. Um, Groups or gangs of wicked people plundered me. Teirascha lo shachachti, but your Torah I didn't forget. So lots of commentary on these words. Chevle Rishoim, bands of wicked people. So David HaMelech had lots and lots of enemies. The saddest among them was Avshalom, his son, who rebelled against him, and Achitophel was supposed to be his very good friend who rebelled against him, and they did really horrible things to him. Physically, they actually tried to kill him, they hurt him, they harmed him, and then obviously emotionally, imagine somebody's own son doing to him what Avshalom did to him, his friend who he trusted doing to him what Achitophel did. So he really got it. He was really the only word that the majority of Mepharshim use here to translate this word of what he says they did. Ivduni, they plundered him. They took everything away from him, physically and emotionally. And he says, the Teirascha lo shachachti, I didn't forget your Torah. So first, at a very simple level, I didn't take revenge. I knew that it says in Torah you don't take revenge on anyone, and I didn't take revenge. But on a deeper level, the Gemara actually tells us that most times when a person has been, I don't know if the right word is harmed or plundered or affected, it's very hard for us to carry on doing Torah and mitzvahs and like just keep going. And the Gemara tells the story of Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan was going somewhere, and suddenly at the crossroads he noticed that he was missing his wallet. And he had a lot of money in his wallet, and he got very agitated. And he was looking, and he was worrying, and he was thinking, and he was very involved with how's he going to find his wallet? What's he going to do about his wallet? And while he's there pondering this loss of his wallet with all its money in, a person came by, so happy to see Rabbi Yochanan, and said to him, I was looking for you. I have a shaila for you. I need to ask you this question. And Rabbi Yochanan could not concentrate on the question, and he couldn't answer. He eventually said to the man, I don't know what the answer is. And the man asked him, he said, this is a question that you, Rabbi Yochanan, would always have been able to answer. Is it because you lost your wallet? And Rabbi Yochanan stopped for a minute and he said, yes. Because I lost my wallet, I was in such a frazzle, or whatever word he used, and I can't think of what the answer is to your question. And David HaMelech is saying over here, that never happened to me. I never was so frazzled that I couldn't concentrate on Torah. I never forgot your Torah. I never allowed physical strain or physical things to disturb me from Torah, from connecting with you, Hashem. And when I was preparing this, I was thinking so much of all the little clips that we watch of the soldiers going into the various places, and those are the ones that the pictures that really get to me when you see a group of young men who are getting ready to go walk into Gaza or wherever else they're going. And what do? They sing Torah Psukim. Right? They sing songs about Hashem, and they come out and they sing songs about Hashem. And people who have family in the army and whatever it is, they are speaking like it fascinates me when they say afterwards, Hashem is good, Hashem is wonderful. Like they tell all the and they're not pretending. Maybe some are, but a lot of them, most of them that we watch, are they absolutely are filled with emunah, with faith, with doing mitzvahs. Unbelievable. The one hostage who has become so famous for starting to keep Shabbos and lighting candles in Gaza, right? What is it that makes a person do that? And this is what David HaMelech says over here. He says, when a person can realize that the way to deal with these things that frazzle us, that make us distracted from Torah mitzvahs, is by doing Torah mitzvahs. That is what's going to give us the courage, the faith, the ability to go on. Teiras chalai shachachti, Hashem, I never forgot your Torah. And this, the commentaries tell us right away that very often we use galus, we use the fact that we're in exile and we have all the difficulties of exile as an excuse for not doing various mitzvahs. Ugh, if it wasn't so hard and if it wasn't so complicated, and whatever, those are always our excuses for not doing what we have to do, what the Torah tells us to do. And it says, look what David HaMelech is telling us. He says, Chevlei Rashayim Yivduni, like groups and groups, over and over. I was harmed by humans, but yet Teras Chalei Shlachachti, I never forgot your Torah. And then he continues and he says, Chatzos Laila Akum, I get up at midnight, to praise you, to thank you, Al Mishpatei Tzidkecha, for your righteous rulings. So this idea practically of Chatzos Laila Akum, so you know that David HaMelech says he only slept for the first part of the night, and then at midnight he would get up. He had, according to the Medrash, he had a harp which he hung on the above his bed, and was hung at a particular angle that the north wind, which apparently changes at midnight, would blow through his harp, and that was his alarm clock. And he would get up and he would start saying Tikkun Chatzos. It says that midnight is the time that the tzaddikim in Gan Eden also sing to Hashem, praises to Hashem. It says Hashem also walks in Gan Eden at that time and listens out for the people who are saying Tikkun Chatzos, for the people who are praising Hashem at midnight. And so this is how David lived his life. Every night at midnight, he got up and he praised Hashem. So that's just in a very practical level. Taking it slightly more practical also, but a little bit more deeply. So this wording of Chatzos Laila, so you probably are familiar with the fact that many miracles happen to us. Now slips my mind, but I think it's 24 miracles happen to us at midnight. The most famous one, which we quote all the time, is Makas Becheres in Egypt. When did the killing of the firstborn happen and the Jews start going out of Egypt? This was at midnight, at Chatzos Laila. So that's on a national reason for being happy about night. But David HaMelech had a personal reason. His personal reason is that his great-grandmother Rus, she went to Boaz to ask Boaz to be with her. It says she went at midnight to the threshing field, and that's when she asked Boaz to marry her. And it was then that he said to her that he's going to sort it out for her. And the miracle was that he didn't kill her. Boaz, the great man that he was, we always read the story without putting so much thought into it. But at that point, Boaz is fast asleep, and a woman comes and gets into his bed. He should have called for security, right? Pressed the alarm, had like everybody there. She should have been arrested and thrown into prison, if not shot by someone on the side. And yet Boaz says to her, listen, your request is a valid request. Can't do anything about it now because we still have this law of an Ammoni, like that someone from Ammon or Moab cannot become Jewish. I'm going to sort this out for you in the morning. And if we can sort it out with the Beth, then you can, then we can have a child, we can marry and have a child. And that's what happened. So David comes into existence because of that midnight, because of that time that Rus went to Boaz and begged him to marry her, to be with her. And that's David's great-grandmother. So because of that, David HaMelech got up every night at midnight, lahodos, to thank Hashem, the fact al mishpatei tzidkecha, that Hashem made the rules, the laws of the Torah tzedek, righteous ones, and allowed his great grandmother to marry Boaz. Um, what A deeper understanding um, of of um, of this, slightly deeper, and then we'll go even one deeper. We have the custom not to say Tehillim while it's dark outside. So from sundown until midnight, we don't say Tehillim. It's custom, it's not law, but it's a quite well accepted custom. So David HaMelech, whose very life was Tehillim, right? He's the Machaber of Tehillim, did not say Tehillim in the time that you couldn't say Tehillim. And so every night he would get up and wait until midnight, because that's when he could start saying Tehillim again. Chatzos Laila Akum, at midnight, I could get up and praise you. And then probably the deepest explanation of all of this, and powerful, similar to what we were saying before in the pasuk before, and we've spoken about this concept before, that whenever David HaMelech uses the expressions of day and night, he's hinting to us, these are just metaphors for us of good and bad. Okay, and so night always represents bad things, difficulties, harshness, right? So when David HaMelech says it was my midnight, right? It was the middle of the night, was dark. He's alluding to the fact that he was in a terrible state. Things were really bad for him. He had enemies. He had all different difficulty after difficulty. And yet he's telling us a lesson. He's saying, Chatzos Laila, it could be the middle of the night, the most difficult things going on in your life. But Akum, I got up, lahodos lach, to look for the good things that I have to thank you for. And this is a madrega. To be able, when things are hard, to still find something to thank Hashem for. This is the madrega of David HaMelech. Akum Laila, to get up when it's difficult. I think much more recently, psychologists have come up with this concept, which they think is new and original, but David HaMelech was already telling us about it ages and ages ago, where they speak about like a gratitude diary. If you could, when things are going bad for you, just stop for a few minutes and find something to thank Hashem for, that will help you. It will help you emotionally. And David HaMelech tells us this already here. Akum Laila, I'll get up in the night when things were most difficult. And what did I do to help myself? I found things to thank you for. And then David HaMelech goes on and he says, Chaver ani l'chol asher yireucha, I'm a friend to all of those who fear you, u'lashamrei pekudecha, and those who keep your laws and your rules. So the first thing that we would really have to understand is why he says Chaver ani, I'm a friend. And I had a lot to say about that, but I'm going to say it in short, much shorter. Chaver, what is a friend? Okay, what is a friend? Different to being the king, the ruler, different to being the rabbi, different to being any kind of leadership, anything. Chaver, to be a friend. And what is a friend? A friend is someone who cares about you and who doesn't feel superior to you. That's what a friend is. And this is what David HaMelech was able to do. He was able to be friends with the people around him. He was able to see anybody who he thought was a good, a decent person, not as lesser than him, but as a contemporary of him. And why did he consider them contemporaries? Because he saw that they were God-fearing, that they were keeping what Hashem wanted, that they were trying to be good, and therefore he was able to call himself Chaver, a friend. And simply, over here, he's saying, if you believe in Hashem, I consider you my friend. That's already enough to be friends with you. Slightly deeper than that, he's also talking about the neshamas in Gan Eden, who he would say Tehilim with at midnight, and these are his friends, right? These are David's friends who he gets up every midnight and davens and sings thanksgivings to Hashem. And the last pasuk of the Chesed, it says, Chastocha Hashem mal haaretz, your kindness, Hashem, fills the earth. Chukecha lamdeini, teach me your chukim. So, firstly, this big thing that David, in his harshest, difficult times, he recognizes that Hashem is still kind. He's still able to pick out and find the kindnesses. I'm always fascinated when talk to people who are going through a rough time, particularly Rahman al-Islam, when it's illness, and they say things like, Hashem was there with me, or I felt Hashem, or this was so kind of Hashem. It's like, this was kind of Hashem that he was there with you. He gave you the trouble in the first place. Like, why do you think it's kind? But people find kindness. They find Hashem's kindness. And this is in our DNA from David HaMelech. That David HaMelech says, Chastocha Hashem, your kindness, Hashem, fills the earth. This is it. He's just told us how difficult his life is, and he's still able to find Hashem's kindness. But he has one request, and that is Lamdeini chukecha, teach me your chukim. So a chayk is a mitzvah which we don't understand. Chayk generally refers to things that we don't understand. And David says, I have one problem, Hashem. I'm teaching everybody about Torah and mitzvahs and trying to influence them and trying to feel it myself. All of that. And I understand and accept everything that happens in the world. But I have nothing to answer when people ask me why wicked people prosper. Lamdeini, please Hashem, teach me chukecha, those things that are so difficult, that are so impossible for me to understand. And that is the chesed, the letter ches in Perek Yutes. Brings us Kuf Yutes.
Thank you.
That. Thank you.
Thanks, Rivki.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rivki.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Thank you.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
shift.